Hey everybody, so this is chapter 4. I'm just kind of narrating the PowerPoint that she has on here. Since chapter 4 and 5 were not narrated, I'm going to kind of just read them aloud and go through what I have looked at in the book so far. Chapter 4 seems like it's probably just a review, and she says at the beginning of every one of these, like, these are just to be used in conjunction with, the book and Porth's slides from the book. So anyway, the first slide, it was just showing you a picture of a cell, and that actual picture is there's a picture similar to that on page 69. And then it kind of brings it into a bigger area where you can kind of see it under a microscope on that page on 69. The next slide just tells us to review the nucleus. So the nucleus starts out on page 66 in the textbook, and also says to review the functional components of the cell. I don't know, like, I didn't see an actual header for a paragraph that said functional components of the cell in this chapter. You might be able to find it, but I didn't. I just couldn't really find that wording in here. So protoplasm, I didn't find that on a particular page. It may be in here somewhere, but I didn't read all the way through to find that. It talks about cytoplasm under the cytoplasm and its organelles, which is the next thing. And protoplasm maybe under there somewhere. Membranes, cell membrane and function, and that is actually found on page 81. Let me see if I can get to that. Yeah, let's see. Is that right? Membranes, cell membrane function, page 81. I think the reason I put page 81 on that was because it has the movement of substances across the cell membrane, and it talks about that. But that's, all of the passive movement. You got your diffusion and osmosis and facilitated diffusion. So it talks about that on page 81, and that may be what that's referring to. The cytoskeleton, I found that on page 70. The cytoskeleton, and it talks about that the cytoplasm contains a network of microtubules, microfilaments, and intermediate filaments, and thick filaments. Because they control cell shape and movement, these structures are a major component of the structural elements called cytoskeleton, which participates in the movement of entire cells. So let's see. The cell membrane, that's kind of confusing me. Let's go back to, I don't know why I want to keep thinking that maybe that's talking about the endoplasmic reticulum, the cytoplasm and its organelles. But that's not right. It's got to be the outermost part. Anyway, I don't know exactly what she's wanting us to review on that, where it says membranes and cell membrane. The next thing is the cytoskeleton, like I said, on page 70. Cell communication, that is on page 73. Over in the bottom right-hand corner, it says cells in multicellular organisms need to communicate with one another to coordinate their function and control their growth. The human body has several means of transmitting information between cells. These mechanisms include direct communication between adjacent cells through gap junctions, autocrine and paracrine signaling, and endocrine or synaptic signaling. And then it goes on to talk about the specific details of what autocrine signaling and paracrine signaling and endocrine signaling are, and how those functions are carried out. Oh, here's the cell plasma membrane. All right, so the cell plasma membrane is on page 72. Maybe that is what she's referring to with the membrane, cell membrane and function. So that's on page, the cell is page 72, the cell plasma membrane. The cell is enclosed in a thin membrane that separates the intracellular contents from the extracellular environment. To differentiate it from the other cell membranes, such as the mitochondrial or the nuclear membranes, the cell membrane is often called the plasma membrane. So it's a specific membrane, and that's what that is. I don't see anything else about another membrane, so. But keep in mind, this is just me like initially reading over these PowerPoints. If you guys have anything to add, please feel free to do so. If you hear me say something that is not correct, please feel free to correct me, because I would certainly appreciate that. So moving right along, I'm going to go to the next slide. Actually, we could talk about cell communication for just a second. Page 73. Oh yeah, we talked about that, autocrine, paracrine, and endocrine. Okay, I'm kind of all over the place today. Sorry, I'm in a hurry. This slide, she actually has some notes in this section. GO is the stage when the cell may have, oh, sorry, I can't see this very well. Hold on, let's see here. Main stages of cell cycle. So you have mitosis, which is the cell division stage, and interphase, which is the non-dividing phase. Types of cell division: mitotic cell division occurs in somatic cells, and meiosis or meiosis, not sure how you say that, occurs in gamete-producing organs. And I think that gamete is like the sexual organs, like when the sexual organs come together, like embryonic and that kind of thing. And I think somatic cells are the cells of other parts of the body. But definitely verify that information for yourself, because that's just kind of what I looked up. So the notes section underneath the slide that she has, it says the G0 is the stage when the cell may leave the cell cycle and either remain in a state of inactivity or re-enter the cell cycle at another time. G1 is the stage during which the cell begins to prepare for mitosis and through DNA and protein synthesis and an increase in organelle and cytoskeletal elements. The S phase is the synthesis phase, during which DNA replication occurs and the centrioles begin to replicate. G2 is the pre-mitotic phase and is similar to G1 in terms of RNA activity and protein synthesis. The M phase is the phase during which cell mitosis occurs. Tissues may be composed primarily of quiescent, I'm not sure how you say that, cells in G0, but most tissues contain a combination of cells that are continuously moving through the cell cycle, and the quiescent cells that occasionally enter the cell cycle. Okay, non-dividing cells, such as neurons and skeletal and cardiac muscle cells, have left the cell cycle and are not capable of mitotic division in postnatal life. That's interesting. Cell division, or mitosis, is the process during which a parent cell divides and each daughter cell receives a chromosomal karyotype identical to the parent cell. The cell division gives the body a means of replacing cells that have a limited lifespan, such as skin and blood cells, increasing tissue mass during periods of growth and providing for tissue repair and wound healing. That part right there is explained incredibly well with that app or website that Whitney was talking about on our Facebook page. She said that it's called Osmosis. You can go to osmosis.org, and they have tons of videos that you can watch on genetics and any other any other body system that you want. So it helps that make a lot of sense, and I would definitely recommend going and checking that out. And then the next slide just says, review metabolism. So catabolism versus anabolism, and that is found on page 78 and 79. Transportation can be passive, active, primary, secondary, and then you've got endocytosis, exocytosis. Membrane potential is found on page 85. And then types of tissue, the epithelial can be found on page 88. Connective, page 93. Neural is page 97. And muscle is page 94. And the notes that she has right here underneath this slide says that catabolism consists of breaking down stored nutrients in body tissues to produce energy. Anabolism is a constructive process in which more complex molecules are formed from simpler ones. Passive transport consists of diffusion, osmosis, and facilitated diffusion. Active transport consists of primary active transport and secondary active transport. And then secondary active transport is broken down into two categories, symport and antiport. And then endocytosis is phagocytosis, and then she has exocytosis written down there as well. And that is the end of chapter 4. It was only 5 slides. I think this is meant to be mostly a review. But for me, I feel like I remember nothing, so I'm going to have to go back and really read a lot about what, the meaning of all of this is, and I'm sure it will kind of start to come back to me, but it's just, right now, it kind of seems a little foreign. So, like I said, if you guys have any additional thoughts, I'm always open to questions, suggestions, and concerns. So leave those in the comment section, and I hope you have a good time studying. Bye.